Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Morgan Lloyd, who's an independent insurance agent with Trailstone Insurance Group. Morgan, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me on, Mike.
Hey, you're welcome. Hey, get us started with tell us a little bit of your background. What has your journey been like in business and what led you to the insurance industry?
Well, it's a long roundabout journey. I graduated high school. I took off. I thought I could make a fortune in Alaska. So I went up there on a one-way ticket, and I ended up meeting a girl, and we hitchhiked back to Ohio, and then actually went all the way to Mexico City, where I ran out of money. And so that began a journey of about 7 years that I was just kind of traveling all over the world. I was teaching English in Asia and Latin America. I was a mountain guide in Peru for a while. Just doing all kinds of crazy things all over the world, and kind of trying to learn languages, learn about cultures, learn about myself. And then I came back to the U.S. when I was about 25, and due to some family issues. And I was looking for something to do. I thought I could take over my family farm, and it was very difficult. It was very not very profitable business. So I kind of had to find some other solution. So I was looking for jobs, and I ended up seeing a job for tower climbing. And a few months after that, I got a call from a guy, and he said, "Hey, we've got an opening. You want to go do it?" And I was like, "Yeah, that's awesome. That sounds amazing."
What's a tower? What kind of towers were you climbing?
Cell towers.
Okay.
Yeah. So first day on the job, climbed up 400 feet with some crazy hillbilly guys from West Virginia. And had no training whatsoever at all. We just climbed up 400 feet, had some bolts in our pockets. Oh, it was crazy. First day on the job. And, I was a little bit scared, but I'd been a mountaineer before that. So it was just right in my alley. But we got up there, and this crazy hillbilly guy was yelling at us from the ground. And you really don't understand very much somebody yelling at you from 400 feet. But he was saying he was going to cut the guy wire down to the tower, to the base of the tower, which would knock the tower down, right?
Ooh.
Yeah. So we climbed down, and anyway, after that, I was hooked. I did that for 4 or 5 years, traveling all over the U.S. With a couple different companies. A big part of I was there for pretty much the entire 4G build out. But I was working out. I came out to Colorado. I was an auditor for a big regional cell carrier, all over Colorado and Nebraska. And I tore my labrum in my hip, so I had to stop climbing. I just couldn't do it anymore. So I was kind of trying to figure out what to do. And my wife is a mortgage loan originator. And she said, "Hey, I've got a lot of people that feel like they're paying too much for insurance. And you should get into insurance." And at the time I was like, I don't know. It's quite a change from
from climbing cell towers in the mountains. Right.
Yeah, exactly. It was, but I thought about it, and I did the classes, and I kind of, learned about it. It was pretty interesting. So she told me that I should be a broker, that I should be an independent agent, because that would have the best pricing, and that would help her clients. And her clients wanted to deal with independent agents for the most part. And that was really, really sound advice. I'm glad I listened to her on that. I was looking around at different options, and I found Trailstone, and they seemed like a really good company. I talked with the agency owner, Mark, and he seemed like a great guy. And so I went with that, and it's been great ever since.
And here we are. Yeah. So obviously insurance, one of the words that comes to mind is risk, right? We want to cover and protect and mitigate risk. Well, all about risk from, climbing things. So, you probably had that in the back of your mind to go, hey, you know what, let's make sure we give you peace of mind and options and things. So you mentioned the word independent. And I think that's really important because, before your wife had mentioned that, maybe you were thinking, A, why insurance? But B, if I get into insurance, what's the benefit of an independent agent? So what have you discovered with working with clients of hers, of you developing your own network of clients to serve? Why do they like an independent agent versus someone you can see on TV or online?
I feel like it was just really fortuitous for me. We got into the independent side of it. I have options with 40 different carriers. I can place almost any risk. It doesn't matter. Even, a vacant home in the mountains that's going to be used for short-term rentals in the future that's under renovation in an extremely high fire risk area, I can find a company that will insure that house. If I was with a captive agency like, your big one, State Farm, Allstate, whatever, I might not be able to place a risk there. And I just have to give up that client. Not only that, but I almost always have the most competitive pricing. And it's very rare for a client to have the best pricing with, say, home and auto together, or home, auto, and umbrella together.
Yeah.
A lot of people have very, very different risks. For example, their home might be great with one carrier. It might be $1,000 cheaper with one carrier versus pretty much all the other ones. And their auto might be, $500 a year cheaper with another carrier. And if I was with just a captive agency where I could only sell one product, there's almost no way that I would be the most price competitive on both.
You bring up a really interesting point there, because I think the word bundle, that we hear on TV, it's been tried to be taught to us over time that if you bundle, you save. Well, what you just described is sometimes, maybe many times, if you have one insurance coverage with homeowners with this carrier and auto with a different carrier, maybe bundling is not the only recipe to save the most amount of money.
Absolutely. Especially when you get into more complex risks, people with multiple homes, landlord properties, things like that. It's almost impossible for that to be the best with just a single carrier across all those risks. It is sometimes desirable to bundle. Obviously, we always check that.
Yeah.
But if the difference is $500 plus per year, up to $1,000 per year of savings for not bundling,
yeah,
you don't want to do it.
Because what do I care? If you're going to be doing a direct withdrawal out of my account for the premiums, do I really care that it's coming from one carrier or two if I'm going to save more money? Of course not. Just and these are not the carriers that you work with. They're the top carriers in the country. They're all known names. It's not like I don't know about Billy Bob's insurance. I don't know about that. Yeah. But these are major carriers. It's just that you have the correct combination of putting it together for the needs that your clients have. And it's like a Rubik's Cube. Wow, I would never know how to put that together, but that's why someone like yourself, to guide them through that process and ask the right questions and know what they need, that becomes a huge service.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'd say we come in, it's not just about price, obviously. It's about getting the best value, making sure that the client's properly insured, which is probably the biggest issue in our market right now, with the insane cost of reconstruction and the elevated cost of living in the event of a loss where you have to leave the home, things like that. But yeah, it's really a good position for me to be in, working with so many carriers, having such good partnerships with the carriers that we work with as well. With the underwriters, we're really able to place risks that a lot of agencies out there wouldn't be able to place. So
yeah,
that's a huge advantage for us.
So flexibility, options with the top carriers, 40 plus, and placing risk. Sometimes the average person needing homeowners or auto might not think of themselves as well, I have a high escalated risk, so I have trouble. You need to help me with that. Maybe they do, but what's some examples of higher risk that becomes harder to place where you guys can solve that?
Oh yeah, I see it all the time. One of my neighbors down the road, great lady, she unfortunately had 3 claims in like 3 years on homeowners. It made it so she was getting dropped by her current carrier, and she was already paying a lot more than she really needed to, and didn't have very good coverage, nowhere near adequate to rebuild. But I was able to find her a carrier that would take her, not even in surplus lines. So a standard carrier, admitted in Colorado, and for a actually cheaper price, get her better coverage. And she's good to go for now. Obviously, it's not ideal to have 3 claims, but we can kind of advise on that, and help her make better decisions. Well, shouldn't say better decisions, but hopefully at least advise on what on
how to prevent. So let's say in that case, in that person's scenario, there's a look back, like in this many years, if you've had this many claims, then that means your risk is whatever. So let's say that in 6 months, a year, 2, 3 years down the road, let's say that there's not as many claims. Does that improve her risk? Would that improve her, you're able to place her now, good. You're able to probably save her some money now, even better. But in the future, what if her risk, goes down because of less claims for the coaching and guiding that you've given? Does that help the situation to even drop premiums even more or get better coverage?
Absolutely. And that would be the second there is what we really be focusing on in this situation in this market, is making sure that we have enough coverage for reconstruction. But that's why we shop every year. So if we look at our clients' policies every year, make sure if pricing isn't changing, and it's still the best bet, we can kind of quickly evaluate that with our software. But if it looks like it's still the best bet, then we can renew. But we also have the option of shopping our clients every year. And we typically do that with any increase of 5% or more. And we're also reevaluating the reconstruction cost estimate of the home every year to make sure that our clients are adequately insured. So yeah, we certainly, once you get past, if you currently have more than 3 claims, if you wait a couple of years, one of those falls off. Now you have 2 claims within 5 years. You're going to be much better. You're going to have much more options. You'll be eligible with many more companies, which may have better terms, better price, better coverages for you.
So talk a little bit about that, making sure and checking and making sure you're in the best coverages, because I know a lot of times people hear that and like, yeah, you say that, but it never happens. And you hear like, the cable companies or the internet providers, you get this great, plan. And then a year down the road, it's like, poof, that was just an intro. And now you're up to, these higher rates. So what do you guys do to make sure that you deliver on that promise?
Yeah, it's basically from my perspective, it's pretty much automated. We have a whole team that manages this, so they'll let me know if rates have gone up more than 5% with any of my clients. I need to shop it, and then I go back into our files. I look at their risk, I reshop them, and sometimes I'm able to save them substantial money by switching. Some of the carriers we work with are just like that. They have great intro rates, and then they increase their premiums over time. So we're not tied to any of our carriers.
Right.
We work.
That's another big benefit of being independent, right? I mean, not only do you have many carriers to get people the best coverage on the front end, but if the time comes where we need to look and shop around, there's no allegiances or alliances where you are forced to maintain, there's nothing in it for you to keep people in a certain carrier. You can go, my allegiance is to my client. I want to get you the best deal. That means we might want to look at switching to this or swap into that.
Yeah, it is much. It's much more efficient for us to maintain our client relationships than find new ones. And not only do we want to, just for the sort of the moral aspect of it, to make sure that we're getting our clients the best deal and the good business practices. We just from basic, just from our for our business purposes, we want to make sure that we're getting our clients the best possible deal, so we don't get undercut by our competitors.
Yeah. And so how do you compete, like you personally, when you work with someone? There's a lot of power in automation and online. And let me just put my info into this, search engine tool on this insurance site, and poof, they'll spit out what I need. But compare that to your knowledge of the industry to be able to ask the right questions and make sure that they're getting the best coverages that kind of falls outside of just falling into some algorithm.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Homeowners insurance, especially, and short-term rental insurance and some other things that I kind of specialize in, are very complex. And you may think you're getting a better deal just because you're getting a better price, but your coverage could be woefully inadequate. You could have huge holes that you don't expect in your coverage, and that can come back and cost tens, hundreds of thousands of dollars over the long haul. So my main priority in terms of helping my clients is to educate them on what they're buying. That's number one. So we spend typically between 15 to 45 minutes, have an initial conversation to go over their existing coverage with their current policy, and help them understand their current policy, what's good, what's bad, what makes sense, what doesn't. And then kind of obviously also get information about their home and the risks that they have, get a better package that more adequately addresses their risk. And then I take that information, I shop with all the carriers we work with, and then I send them a detailed report on a comparison between their existing policy and the proposed, along with the detailed report on comparison of all the different rates with all the carriers that we work with. And I think people really appreciate that. And then we go over and we talk about it, and then we can kind of go from there, get a more customized approach. But I'd say 70 to 80% of the time at that point, if we're better than if we're providing better value than their existing, which we do probably 70 to 80% of the time, then people switch.
Yeah, because it makes sense. Because here's the thing. People don't feel at that point, what you just described, they don't feel forced or pushed. You're just educating and teaching and showing and presenting options, and they make the decision. It's like, well, how can I say no?
Yeah. And I'm a little different than a lot of the agents, even in my agency. I don't do a whole lot of automation. Only when I'm having a really difficult time contacting clients. I typically just do it all manually, old school, like we're back in the 1980s or whatever. And I think people appreciate it. And if you do go online and like we talked about, first of all, you're not gonna be able to shop this many carriers. You're very unlikely that you're going to get such a tailored, customized package. So you're probably not going to save money, and you are going to get most people who do this will get harassed constantly for months by both automation and because that information gets sold to many people, and you'll get calls for months, and it's very, very annoying.
And you just get overwhelmed. Yep. Have somebody that has got your back, is watching out for you, and has access to the top carriers. So that just makes so much sense. So Morgan, let's just wrap up with this. Someone is interested in having you maybe kind of look out for their best interest and see if they're in the best spot, whether it's just a second opinion or if they're looking to, buy a house and get that homeowner's insurance and compare plans. What's the best way that they can reach out and connect with you?
Well, you can call or text me directly, 720-902-5818, or you can send me an email at mloyd@trailstoneinsurance.com. That's MLLOYD @trailstoneinsurance.com. Or you can reach out to me on social media. I'm always on Facebook. Just look me up, Morgan Lloyd. And I'd be really happy to set up a time. We can talk over your coverage and find you a better deal.
Excellent. Well, Morgan, thank you so much for coming on today. It was a real pleasure talking with you.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. I appreciate you.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.